Hello there folks, I'm back again with another speed paint video for you guys. And this week we have a request from my mother. We're doing another Neopets paintbrush speed paint, as I'm sure you saw in the thumbnail. And this week we're going to be tackling Jirachi. Jirachi is one of my mom's favorite Pokemon, and honestly, perfect for this challenge. It's very simple, but it also has a lot of distinct shapes and identifying features that can be easily morphed into different aesthetics if you really try. So, without further ado, let's get right into the speed paint. The first design we have today is with the Cloud paintbrush, which you guys have seen me do before with my Vignette designs a while back. For all of the brushes I did today, I picked a lot of cool colors since those are my mom's favorites, and I thought she would like seeing Jirachi in a bunch of different shades of blue, and purple, and lavender, and all that fun stuff. So, of course, why not do the Cloud paintbrush? It's got that perfect mix of like periwinkle and sky blue and white. It's just a very nice little color palette that I think looks great on Jirachi. This design is very simple. I basically just took the yellow aspects of Jirachi's design and replaced them with that classic periwinkle cloud aesthetic that you see on the Cloud Neopets. The white part that I used for its body is inspired by the white accents you might see on the canon Neopets, usually for their underbelly or something like that, and I thought it would make it a little more cohesive but also look a little bit more like Jirachi's canon design. I tried to make the pose look like it's taking off or flying into the air a little more active than the other two poses I used for this video. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. I had a lot of issues doing the line art on this one. Because this was the first one of this challenge and it had been a while since I'd drawn Jirachi, I had a bit of a Tangent City issue when doing the liner at first. So after quite a few attempts, especially with the little bumps by the side of the face, I eventually got to a point where I didn't have any tangents and I was pretty happy with it. Overall, this was a very quick and simple design as far as this goes. I mean, the cloud pattern always is. For the background, it's honestly maybe the most interesting part of this piece. I did another cloudy grid Dreamcore-esque background just like with my Vignette piece. Although I think this one's a little less sunset and a little more mid-morning afternoon sort of vibe. It's definitely brighter and more daytime than the background I did for the Vignette piece. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this design. It's pretty simple, but I think pretty effective. You can tell which paintbrush it's supposed to be, and it still reads quite a lot like the original Jirachi. Next up, we have a brush I haven't actually done before for one of these challenges, and it's the Darigan brush. And I'll be fully honest, I feel like I was just inspired to do a Darigan-based design because I've been watching a lot of videos by the Amanda Files recently, and obviously she's like a big fan of the Darigan Neopets. I think as a kid I didn't really like them, and it wasn't because they were evil or supposedly ugly. I think just the texture they had bothered me for some reason. They have these little dots that are put into their design to make them look more grungy or worn out. And as a kid, I didn't really care for it, but as an adult, I have a pretty good appreciation for it. Plus, I really like their color palette of like purple, red, and blue. It looks like a weird mid-2000s bisexual flag color palette, which I think is really fun. I really wanted to make this Jirachi look really devious. Canonically, most of the time, Jirachi is kind of aloof or sleepy or gentle. So I thought it'd be really funny to do one that kind of looks like a little weird pest, like a little rascal, a little bastard, so to speak, you know? I thought that would be a lot of fun. So I decided to make its shapes a little bit pointier in this design. I wanted to look more run down and like it had been cursed. From my understanding of the Neopets lore, I think the Darigan Neopets are like cursed to look like that. I don't think it looks like a curse. To be honest, I just think it's very fun. I tried to make it look very devilish, devious, and impish. I made its eyes red because that seems to be a common eye color for the Darigan Neopets. And I also tried to make the third eye look like it could be Darigan. A lot of the Darigan Neopets have red eyes with slit pupils, even some of the ones where you normally don't see their eyes, like the Aisha. So I really wanted to incorporate that sort of thing in with the Jirachi design. And of course I had to incorporate that weird grungy texture that you see with the Darigan Neopets. So I basically accomplished that by just doing some darker versions of the flat colors and making little textured accents on all the different places to make it look a little more rough, a little more textured, and a little more fun. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I think this was a deceptively difficult one to do, but I think I had a really clear vision going in, and that really helped me to do this piece. Oh, and of course I gave Jirachi a little evil tooth, because I thought it would look cute and devious. Last up, we have the water design. This water brush is a newer one from my understanding. I don't remember it being a brush when I was a kid. I only really remember like the Moroccan as a aquatic brush. But instead of this brush being about changing the design of the Neopet, it's really more about the rendering and the color palette. Pretty much all of the water Neopets look very unified with this sort of like teal, ocean, rippling wave sort of look about them. It really makes them all look very cohesive and very distinct. They look more painterly and rendered than most of the other Neopets designs, and I think that's pretty neat and fun. So, of course, that was what I focused on with this Jirachi design. I didn't change too much about Jirachi's usual design. I tried to incorporate more flowy or liquidy elements. For example, I made the wings look a little bit more like they're dripping apart and losing bits of themselves as they fly through the air. And I made the tassels on its head look like they are more wavy or oceanic instead of being smooth rectangles. I also made the eyes green for this piece because I noticed that was a pretty common eye color. This dark forest green was used a lot for a lot of the canon Neopets, so I decided I would go with that since it went well with the teal. The render for this was simple, but I did have to do a bunch of steps in order to get the look. And I basically dissected it by looking at the way the canon Neopets were rendered and trying to decide in what way they probably did it, and then, reverse engineering it for myself. The first thing I did was slam down a teal on top of everything, and that is because that was a very common color to see in these water Neopets. Might as well use that as the base. And then I made a nice shadow, a darker version, a slightly cooler version of that teal color to make it have it's got depth and volume to it. And then I blended that out, made it look all smooth and a little less like I just slammed a brush down. Then I went ahead and added some highlights around the edges to sort of make it have the impression of like a water bubble in the air. I really wanted it to look like there was light going through this thing all the way around. And then last but certainly not least, I went ahead with the ripple lines, or I think the proper term for these is caustics, which are those bright lines you see reflected through water that look really cute and were very fun to draw. I kind of just let my hand and my eye guide me on this one, kind of in a meditative state, just figuring out where to put those in a way that felt like it made sense, it accentuated the volume, and in a way that I thought would look good and balanced. So this was really a piece that was about the process a lot more than it was about the design. And after all of that process, it made it very soothing and relaxing to make. I definitely had a lot of good fun doing this, so I kind of want to do another water brush Pokemon just because this process was really nice, even though the design probably won't look too different from this. For the line art, I just did a nice dark teal and then did a darker blue around the eyes to give them a little bit more contrast since they were kind of getting lost and muddy in the original line art color. I went ahead and put some rainbow accents in the background as well to give more of that sort of refracted water, rainbow, droplet of water flying through the air look. I really wanted this to have the feeling of when you splash water and it just casts an interesting shadow on the ground. I really wanted this to feel a little bit like that, and I think I got there. I'm pretty happy with how this design came out. And with that, those are all of the Neopets designs I have for you guys today. I'm pretty happy with them. Do you guys have any favorites? I think my favorite might be the water, just because I had so much fun drawing it, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with all three. If you guys have any other suggestions for speed paints, please let me know in the comments. I am always looking to add more stuff to my ever-growing to-do list. If you would like to support me, I recommend checking out my Ko-fi page. I'm trying to save up to move next year, so anything anybody can pitch in would be seriously appreciated. And with that, I believe that is all I have for you guys this week. So once again, let me know if you have any more ideas, and in the meantime, you guys should go out there and make some art.